So this is day 3 of the Canopy build, and I've had to divert this pipe, and now the water pump is cycling. I started to hear it or notice it last night in the night, and I wasn't really sure what the noise was. I had a feeling I knew, but I wasn't certain because I was half asleep. And then this morning when I woke up I heard it, and since actually paying attention to it, I've heard it twice in about half an hour of each other. I managed to keep the water off, not use anything for that half hour, and the pump has cycled very, very briefly. So I'm assuming that it's one of these joints that I've done, because it wasn't a problem before then. So it'd be rather a coincidence, I think, if it's not one of these joints. So I've started the process of elimination. So I've gone around and I've made sure all the taps are off, that nothing's dripping in that sense. And I'm waiting for the next cycle to happen, which will be the second one since I've dug this pipe out and cleaned around the joints. And then I want to go around with a tissue and see if I can feel any weeping, because there must be a leak. It can't just be air going in and reducing the pressure. It's got to be actually a leak, unless there's an air lock. Yes, I didn't think about that, did I? Because yeah, I haven't run that tap down there since refitting the pipes. So there could be an airlock, couldn't there, thinking about it? If there's an airlock in the pipe between this joint here and the tap, that could be affecting the way the pressure's measured by the pump. It could be pressing the air down as it pumps up to give it the pressure in the pump, and then gradually the air expands again effectively and changes the pressure. So it could be that, I suppose. Well, I'll check for leaks first, and then I'll run the tap at the other end, see if I get any air come out, and then I'll leave it a half an hour or something, and see if we get another cycling. Well, there we go, it's recycling itself again. Very, very brief. Okay, so we've definitely got a pressure problem somewhere. Of course, it could be the actual machine itself. It could be that it's the pressure, what do you call it inside? The thing that holds the pressure could be leaking. Right, let's see how many minutes that was. Yeah, that was 19 minutes, so I've had like what was it, it's about every 19-20 minutes it's cycling. So I'm going to just check the joints, see if they're wet, and then I'm going to run that tap down there, see if I get any air come out. Well, my bit of tissue is bone dry on all the new joints. And even on the old joint as well. I can't see or feel. I can't see or feel any leak. These are old joints, so I haven't bothered cleaning those up. Right, let's go and turn this water on down here, see if we've got any air in the system, and then leave it half an hour and see what's what. Well, disappointingly there's no air in the system. Tiniest little amount spluttered at the very beginning of that. To me it's too much of a coincidence that I've worked on the pipes and then I get this problem. So the next thing I want to do, I think, is clean all the pipes. Clean all these new pipes. So I can run a towel tissue along the whole length. Just in case one of these pipes has got a split in it. Or something like that. From being messed about with. Because I know that when I was cutting the end off the existing pipe, it did actually fracture. So I think this pipe might be one of the thinner versions of what's available on the market. I didn't even realise you could buy thicker pipes and thinner pipes when I went out shopping sometime before, so I could well have picked up a thinner one. And maybe it's just got a little bit brittle, and there's a possibility that there's a small crack somewhere. Now this ground looks very wet, particularly down there. Although I have to say, when I was filling it up yesterday, it wasn't dry. We've had lots of storms recently, so it is generally damp underneath these stones. But the other thing that's happened is that they've done this top of this concrete pad yesterday, so there's going to be a little bit of water and stuff flying around here. So I can't put my finger on and say for certain that there's a leak just here. Might be, but a split pipe seems to be the most unlikely thing in my view, because I would expect it to make the recycling happen a lot more often than every 20 minutes and be very much more visible. Whereas a joint can be a very, very weepy sort of leak that takes ages to build up and reduce the pressure in the pipe. I need a bit of cardboard to kneel on these days. Getting a bit old and frail. I have to save my energy for more important things. Well, I've cleaned that pipe out now, and I've been rubbing my hand all along it, and there's absolutely no indication at any point of actual wetness. Obviously I've been rubbing off slightly damp sand, but none of it's been wet. There's no spot where I can say, oh look, that's extremely wet, that bit. Let's have a look at it. My hand is perfectly dry. Okay, well I've just got to leave it now and see if that pump cycles again, I suppose, because you never know, running the tap at the other end may have sort of cleared the problem if there was a bit of an airlock or a leak, an air blockage or something like that. Even though I couldn't tell, it wasn't spluttering as it were, like a hose pipe does when it's completely empty. A hose pipe often really splutters for quite a few seconds when the water's turned on. It didn't do that, which I sort of expected it might. So let's just leave it and see what happens, and I'll come back to you. Yes, so it's only been a few weeks really that I had to replant these broken bits of this plant, this cactus, and look, it's got very, very good roots already. I did use the at the bottom of the hole the soil that's used for growing plants that Suntere bought for her pot, so maybe that helped. Yeah, pleased with that though. Right, well the pump just recycled again after about 20 minutes. So let's go around and just check these joints and these pipes again. I'm just going to do it with my hand this time, seeing as everything's clean. So there's nothing wrong with that. There's absolutely no sign of any leak there. Nothing on the stone. Tell you what I'm going to do actually, seeing as it's just recycled. I'm going to turn off a few valves. Right, those valves are isolating the garage, the new kitchen and the shower and the basin and the toilet. These valves are off anyway. It's just gravity feeds the tank, or when I switch the tank over to pump, so no water can get out of that tank. So this is the feed now. It goes to the bathrooms, which are here, so I need to turn these off really, which I'm a bit nervous about because I know these aren't very good. Oh look, there's a bit of wet there. Oh dear. Oh yeah, this is the problem, this valve. And I'm not surprised because this valve is the only one I've got now, I think, of this actual make. And this cap comes off here, which that distinguishes it from the other makes where this handle and body is all one. But for some reason this is a slightly different design, and I think it's screwed in through here because the cap does actually come off if I get a sharp knife, and I can lever that cap off, but that's definitely got a little bit of a weep. Well, it did when I turned it, and it certainly is coming out of the cap. And these have a habit of leaking out of the cap top more than out of the how can I put it, the body of the valve. And I've never been able to understand how that happens, but it does. And I've replaced 3 here. I think I had 4, and this is the 4th one of this type. And I knew it would leak one day, but normally it starts leaking when you turn it on and off. But that's actually wet. That's my problem, I'm sure of it. And that is a pain because I haven't got much pipe to work with. But at least if I change the valve for the one I prefer now, I shouldn't have another problem. Right, I think we might have found the problem there, but nevertheless I've turned that off. I'll check these pipes again, or I'll check them, check these joints. I'm so confident in my plumbing because I know that the reason that these things go wrong is because of lack of glue. And whenever you get a leak, whenever someone builds a house and the ties do the tie builders do the plumbing, they invariably get a leak. And it's common practice, unfortunately, for them to basically bury their pipes in concrete and tile the bathroom and do everything without pressure testing the system. And then what happens is they find their pump is cycling far worse than I've got, and they have to do what I'm doing, turning off valves and things and working out where the leak is. See, everything's dry here. And what I've learned is you basically just use loads of glue. I put it on by hand as well, which is probably under health and safety isn't the best thing to do, but I don't do much plumbing, so it's not like I'm doing it all day every day. I put it on by using my fingers so I can actually feel where the glue is and how much there is, and then I look at it before I stick. Yeah, this is all dry. So it's not me putting too little glue on, it's not my handiwork from yesterday. I'm sure it's going to be that stop valve there, I'm sure of it. That's all dry, and I haven't disturbed any more pipes, so I really can't see how it's going to be anything else. But yeah, common factor here, the only reason you get leaks is because of lack of glue, or because of something like that valve. I had another one of those valves here, you see. These are the ones with which are all in one piece, and there was one of the valves here that had the cap that you can remove, and that leaked. I think I had to turn the valve off for some reason at some point, and it immediately started leaking. And because of the way the pipes were in, I had to make a little rectangle of pipes, and that gives me room to put spare valves in as well if I get another problem more easily. And that's the issue I'm going to have now, changing that valve, that stop valve, because you need some movement in the pipes to be able to actually get the pipe into the valve. And someone once suggested to me that this is the way to do it, because getting a new valve into a straight pipe like that is just impossible, because it's fixed in the wall, so it won't move up and down, and it's basically fixed underneath the ground as well, where it's fixed to the main pipe that goes across. There's absolutely no flexibility. So what you do is you create this sort of configuration, and this squashes down basically and gives you the flexibility to join into one of these pipes, either the up one or the down one. So I'm going to have to do that here as well, because this pipe is absolutely solid. It's solid into the wall here, and it will be solid under the ground as well, because these two pipes will join one pipe underground here, and there won't be any movement because of this one. This one's going to stop any movement in the underground pipe. So I'm going to have to build myself a little like that. It's not actually giving me any more water, but what we'll do is we'll leave it. Yeah, it is giving me some more water. Look, my thumb's wet again, just a tiny bit. We'll leave it and see what happens with the recycling of the pump. Wow, it's just recycled again, and that's even quicker than last time. Yes, and there you have it. A new bit of our garden, which hopefully will be maintenance free, so when we're away nothing will die. Yeah, pleased with that. Well, this is the roof delivery. Hopefully the lads in the village have seen it go by, so they'll turn up now to fit this roof. It's twice he stalled it, must have a dodgy clutch. Oh, 3 times now. Give it a bit of welly, mate, that's what you need. That's it, that's the spirit. Excellent. Handbrake's not very good, I think it's only stopped from falling down, rolling down by the gear. Okay, good. The final stage, but it's only day 3, but it won't take them long to fix it. Probably take me longer to do my plumbing problem. Oh gosh, this is still bothering me. That valve is definitely a weak spot, and I definitely had water on my hand, but it's not dripping. It stopped. I've turned it a couple of times on and off, and if I push that cap in, there's water in there and it will come out onto my finger, but it's not actually dripping. So I know that valve's going to have to be replaced at some point, but maybe I'm not going to bother right now. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. And what I did is I turned the water off at that stopcock up there, which controls all down the side of the garage and the 2 outside taps. And I've been sitting around for an hour and it hasn't recycled. So it hasn't recycled because that isn't dripping. But I thought, let's just carry on checking. So I turned that valve back on. So the water pressure is going down the side of the garage and going up to each of these stop valves and going right to the end of the garden. And of course the pump ran when I turned that valve so that it pressurised the system, pressurised that line again. And I thought, right, let's see, let's just sit around for an hour, see how many times it recycles, see if it does recycle. And I don't know, but literally after 4 minutes the pump cycled again. So I thought, well, that's not good. And then 6 or 8 minutes after that it cycled again. And that was a couple of minutes ago when I started this video. So what I did was I turned this valve off again, and I want to see if it now I keep saying recycled. I want to see if it cycles again, which will lead me onto that valve up there as being the culprit. But if it doesn't, then I've got a problem in this line, and I'm going to have to dig the whole length up and check the whole of the pipe and go right to the very end through those plants, I think, as well, because this is only going to get worse, isn't it? Yeah. So I'm just waiting now to see if the valve into the bathroom makes the pump cycle. Carry on from there. Wow, this is frustrating because I thought I understood that when I turn the valve on that feeds all these pipes down along this run here, the pump cycles. And it hasn't cycled now for about 3/4 of an hour, having done lots of cycles after about 10 minutes or 15 minutes. So I'm at a bit of a loss now. What I do know is that I cannot isolate that leaky valve there that's now not leaking, so I can't actually test whether I can take that out of the circuit to determine whether the cycling reoccurs along this batch of pipes. So I'm going to replace that valve because I know that it's a weak point, and it could be that it's weeping and then it makes it recycle, and then it gets bunged up with gunk or something for a little while, and then water pressure changes in the pipes because of things being used, and the gunk moves and it starts to cycle again. So we know for a fact that that valve leaks, although it's not leaking at this particular moment and hasn't done so for a couple of hours now. So, but I'm going to change it because then I'm guaranteed to fix that, and we'll see what happens after that. But I've exposed all the pipe runs just to check where they went, where they go, and basically start to let them dry out a little bit, some of them anyway. Right, this has all got to be put on, but it's got to be flat, which is why I brought it to this surface here, because I don't want the pipe sticking up at a funny angle. I don't want them to be off like that. They've got to be square. And what's more, they've got to be the same length, so I need to make sure that they're butting up to something. What can I use? Right, that's it done. So now I've just got to give it a few minutes to really go off, because some of those pipes fitted too loosely into those 90-degree bends, in my opinion. And I was worried, when I was taking the paint off those pipes, that I was rubbing the plastic away too much. But actually it was the same with the new pipe as well. It was quite loose fitting, so I've put plenty of glue on, and I wanted to just give it a few minutes to let it go off. In theory it goes off within about a minute or two, which is why you can often actually mend these joints with the water running. If you're quite quick, the water doesn't seem to affect the glue adherence. Anyway, I'm going to be a bit cautious, give it a few minutes. I'm going to tidy up in the anticipation that we won't have any leaks. Get the water back on, and then I know at least that valve's cured, and I can then see if the pump continues to cycle. And if it does, then I really have got a problem, because so far I've got not a clue what might be leaking, and it's almost bound to be a joint in preference to an actual split in a pipe. Well, that was successful. I turned the water back on. No leaks, no cycling at this time, so no leaks from those joints. And I've tested the water in the bathrooms and cleaned out the filters in both the taps, which is something I haven't done before really, but I knew there was a lot of muck in that pipe from cutting of the pipe. So yes, I took the filters off the bathroom that pipe leads into. It's full of blue bits of pipe, so I've cleaned that out, so that's all nice and clean now. And then I thought, oh, I'll just check my shower room, because we've got a very slow running basin tap there, and when I took the filter out of the spout, it was completely bunged up with muck, and when I turned the tap on to wash it, loads of muck came out of the tap as well, so the pressure was so low it was collecting muck just in the tap head. And the other thing was, it had a restrictor in it. Having taken the other filter off already, I knew what to look for exactly, and it was different, and it had a little disc with a tiny little hole in it, which was basically a pressure reducer. So that explains that. So for the last 2 years we've had very low pressure in our basin, and I've always thought it was a valve I put in. Maybe there was a lot of glue, or one of the valves that I had to screw in using tape, and I thought maybe there was too much tape or glue in the joint, and it had restricted the flow. But no, it was just a blooming filter. I'd never thought to even look at that, because it was a brand new tap. So I just slapped it on with like the other one. It was exactly the same, but one of them had the restrictor and one of them didn't. So anyway, that's cured. So that's basically killed 2 birds with 1 stone. So although that was an extra job, I'm very pleased to say it's resulted in something that I was thinking about how to cure, and I was very much considering taking the basin off the wall and looking at the joints that I've got there. And if I'd done all that, it wouldn't have made a heap of the difference, and it would have been an awful lot of work. So I'm pleased about that. That's a result.